3 haunting true summer vacation horror stories you'll never forget at midnight. It was a sweltering summer night, the kind that crept under your skin and lingered like a ghost you couldn't shake. The moon hung high, a cold and leering eye that watched over the town, illuminating every corner with an eerie glow. In the backdrop, whispers of dark secrets roamed the air like restless spirits, promising that tonight would be anything but ordinary. Each tick of the clock seemed to echo louder, a countdown to the uncanny, as the chilling tales of 3 unsuspecting vacationers unfolded in ways they could never have imagined. First up, there was Emily, a bright-eyed girl whose excitement for summer camp turned into a horrifying tale when she discovered a hidden cave during a midnight raid. The cave, she'd soon learn, was a long-abandoned burial ground, empty except for rumors of an angry spirit seeking revenge for its disturbed slumber. Emily's heart raced. She could swear she felt icy fingers brush against her back. As she crept further inside, the air grew heavy, thick with the scent of damp earth and something else, something dead. The whispers were undeniable now, thickening into shouts that echoed off the stone walls, screaming for her to leave. Only a flicker of flashlight, a slip of a foot, and she'd find herself entangled in a mystery that could cost her dearly. Then, there was Jake, who thought he could outlast the darkness in his family's rented cabin. An old bookstore in town had warned him never to venture out after midnight. But Jake was daring, or maybe foolish enough, to ignore the warning. Each step he took outside felt like a bad idea, and each rustle in the trees set his heart racing like a drum. Suddenly, something darted past a shadow, a low growl. He had no time to panic as the world around him grew silent, but that silence was far more terrifying than any scream. It didn't take long before every hair on his body stood straight when he saw it, eyes glowing like 2 molten coals, locked onto him from the tree-lean, unblinking and hungry. Would he survive the night haunted by whatever stalked him? Meanwhile, Lisa's romantic getaway with her boyfriend spiraled into chaos when a hidden journal was discovered under the floorboards of their vacation rental. It was filled with frantic confessions of betrayal, scrawled in an erratic hand. The final entry read like a warning, mentioning a curse that befell every couple who dared to cross the threshold after sunset. Shadows began to dance on the walls as soon as they finished reading. Lisa felt a lump in her throat, paranoia seeping into her mind, telling her her boyfriend was hiding something. Are their arguments merely growing pains, or is something far more sinister unraveling beneath the surface? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As the clock ticked mercilessly toward midnight, Emily felt the heavy silence of the cave close in around her. Jake sensed the predator moving, and Lisa's boyfriend was acting more and more strangely. Each story intertwined now, bound by the mystifying magic of a summer night filled with horror. What would happen to them? The unknown was creeping closer, ready to snatch them into its chilling embrace. And just when they thought they had a handle on their situation, a sudden noise broke the stillness, a door creaking open, a whisper calling their name. Who or what was waiting for them on the other side? Emily's pulse thundered in her ears, drowning out the rising crescendo of whispers around her. She stumbled back at the echo of her own name bouncing off the cave walls. Emily. It echoed, tainted with malice. She turned and shined her flashlight deeper into the darkness, but the beam flickered erratically, as if it shared her panic. Shadows played tricks on her eyes, forming into shapes that seemed to pulsate with her heartbeat. Get out, the whispers became a swirling wind that tugged at her hair and clothes. A decision loomed over her: stay and confront whatever prowled this forsaken place, or flee into the night. Just as her instincts screamed for escape, something cold brushed against her ankle. Emily yelped and jerked her leg, illuminating the floor. There, half buried in dirt, was a weathered skull, empty eye sockets taunting her as if they held the soul of its slain owner. The realization hit her it wasn't just a cave, it was a tomb. Musty air choked her thoughts. She had to leave now. Meanwhile, Jake felt a rush of dread sweep over him as he stood paralyzed on the porch outside the cabin. The creature's eyes bore into him, searing like a flame. He knew he should run, but his feet felt glued to the floor. The growl vibrated through his bones, a primal sound that carried the unmistakable promise of violence. Out of nowhere, the darkness shifted again, and he caught a glimpse of something tall and feral moving beyond the trees. It was massive, with hunched shoulders and a snout glistening with what he hoped wasn't blood. Jake's mind raced. What had he done to tempt fate? With everything in him, he turned to bolt back inside, but a hand, ice-cold and jagged like a claw, gripped his shoulder. Heart pounding, he spun around, ready to confront whatever nightmare had captured him in its grasp. Back in the vacation rental, Lisa sat on the edge of the bed, the journal still open in her trembling hands. Shadows engulfed the room, swallowing the faint light from the bedside lamp. No, she whispered, the weight of the curses pressing down on her spirit. Sweat slicked her brow as her boyfriend paced the small space, muttering to himself. "What are you hiding from me?" She fired, her voice raw with a blend of fear and sadness. The madness in his eyes sent a chill through her. "I'm not hiding anything," he snapped, the tension in the room thick enough to strangle. But she could see the flicker of guilt mirror the shadows around them. Suddenly, there was a loud bang from downstairs. A door slammed open. "Lisa!" A voice cried out, Emily's voice calling from the darkness below. Lisa felt her blood run cold, everything fell unnaturally silent, save for the frantic rhythm of her heart. "Did you hear that?" Lisa gasped, staring wide-eyed at her boyfriend. But before he could respond, a low, guttural sound began to rise from the depths of the house. The temperature dropped, and fear curled around her like a vice, with terror weaving through all 3 stories. It was clear that the night had darker plans ahead. And just as the door to the past creaked open, revealing more than shadows, a terrible realization hit them. Tonight wasn't merely haunted, it was hungry. With breath held tight in their chests, Emily, Jake, and Lisa edged closer to the precipice of their fate, unaware that an unseen force considered them the perfect offerings to feed its insatiable greed. What horrors awaited them at the stroke of midnight, when shadows danced their wildest? The clock was ticking. Emily took one step backward, then another, her heart racing like a beast trying to escape its cage. The skull rested ominously at her feet, reminding her that this cave was no sanctuary but a graveyard for lost souls. She turned to run, but the whispers had grown into a wailing storm, clawing at her resolve. Get out, the words echoed, each repetition sending cold chills racing down her spine. The beam from her flashlight darted wildly, landing on the jagged edges of the cave walls, closing in on her like the teeth of a predator. She stumbled forward, desperate to escape, her breath hitching in her throat. With every frantic step, she heard the faint click of claws skittering against the stone, a chilling rhythm that matched the beat of her heart. No, she muttered to herself, desperate for control. As if summoned by her fear, a low growl reverberated through the darkness behind her, heavy and menacing. Emily dared a quick glance over her shoulder. Nothing. Just the endless void, twisting away into further dark. "Jake! Lisa!" She screamed, voice cracking, but her words dissolved into the waiting emptiness. She could only think of escape, of being outside again, feeling the night air wash over her like a cleansing balm. Meanwhile, Jake's face twisted in shock as he felt the icy grip tighten on his shoulder. Panic surged through him, igniting a primal instinct to fight against the unseen nightmare. He spun around, heart racing, and stared into the eyes of a hideous creature, a grotesque blend of man and beast, twisted in agony and rage. Its snout, thick and dripping, hinted at horrors he couldn't fathom. Before he could scream, the creature lunged. Time slowed as Jake hit the ground, rolling sideways just as talons sliced through the space where he had been. He struggled to his feet and dashed for the cabin door. He wouldn't be caught tonight. Not like this. Inside, Lisa's panic peaked. She could feel the air crackling with something dark, something wrong. The sound from downstairs grew louder, the creaks and groans of a house unwilling to give up its secrets. Emily was calling. Could she really be down there? With a sudden burst of courage, she lunged toward the door. "I'll find her," she shouted to her boyfriend, who watched her, frozen. But before she could reach the staircase, the light flickered, plunging the room into darkness. "Lisa." Emily's voice was closer now, distorted and painful. "I'm coming," Lisa shouted back, trembling but resolute. She descended the stairs, each step echoing like a heartbeat, and the air thickened, pressing against her lungs. Just as she reached the bottom, a figure emerged from the shadows behind her. It was Jake, eyes wide, hair disheveled, gasping for breath. "The creature is following me," he breathed out, the terror painting his features. "Where's Emily?" Lisa demanded, searching his eyes. "You don't understand," he started, but the growl erupted again, cutting through the air like a knife. Emily's flashlight briefly illuminated a corner of the room, and they saw it then, the massive form creeping between the shadows, sniffing the air with raw hunger. Moonlight glinted off claws that could tear flesh with ease, and its presence felt like a harbinger of death. And then, the lights went out completely. In that suffocating darkness, desperation curled tightly around their throats. What had they awakened? What had been stirred from its long slumber? As silence enveloped them, a terrible thought flickered in Lisa's mind. What if this nightmare wasn't just targeting Emily? The shadows shifted, twirling and swirling, as the creature's growl echoed through the darkness, reminding them that time was running out. The night was young, but their chances were fading quickly. What did the shadows truly crave? And was escape even possible at this point? The tremors of unending dread settled deep into their bones, leaving them to ponder their fate as the clock kept ticking relentlessly toward midnight. Panic surged through the small space as the air chilled, pressing against their skin like icy fingers. Lisa stood frozen, the darkness swallowing her whole. She could feel Jake's breath hitch beside her, an echo of her own fear. They had to move. "Jake!" she whispered, urgency tinging her tone. "What do we do?" I don't know. We need a weapon or something." His voice trembled, the words tumbling out in a rush. The growl roared to life, shaking the very ground beneath them. It reverberated in their chests like a distant thunder, sending tremors of terror through their bones. Emily's flashlight flickered back to life, illuminating the narrow path before them. Jake took a deep breath, pushing forward. The light splashed across the wall, and they both flinched when the creature filled their vision, looming larger than any nightmare. Its eyes glowed, reflecting unnatural light, and for a moment, they were paralyzed. "See its eyes?" Lisa said, feeling her heart drum in her ears. "If we can blind it, let us hope it works," Jake replied, gripping the nearest object, a broken chair leg. "You get behind me. I'll distract it." "Are you crazy? Do you have a better idea?" He shot back, bravado masking his fear. The beast shifted, its talons scraping across the floor, waiting, testing the air like a predator on the hunt. Okay. She relented, her voice barely above a whisper. They shared a quick look, their eyes told the stories their mouths couldn't. With a deep breath, Jake stepped forward. "Hey! Over here!" He swung the chair leg, a futile gesture against the beast. The creature's attention snapped toward him, and it charged, the ground shaking under its weight. Time slowed to a crawl as Lisa watched Jake's eyes widen. "Run!" he shouted, twisting away at the last second, avoiding the lethal swipe that narrowly missed him. Lisa darted behind him, the faint path ahead illuminated in sporadic flashes from Emily's struggling flashlight. They raced deeper into the cave, hearts pounding as footsteps followed, relentless and furious. Claws clashed with stone behind them, echoing like a death sentence. The air grew thick, Every breath was a struggle. Emily! Lisa screamed, desperate to find her friend. Suddenly, the flashlight illuminated a side passage tight, dark, a chance, a hope. There. She pointed. We can hide. Jake hesitated. What if it's do you want to die here? She didn't wait for a response, she bolted into the passage, pulling him along. They ducked inside, pressing their backs against the cold rock wall, hearts hammering. The growl came closer, deeper, more menacing. Can it smell us? Jake whispered, his voice trembling. I don't know. The sounds of the beast grew louder, closer, sending waves of dread through Lisa's body. It snuffled at the entrance, claws scraping along the ground, searching. She held her breath, her chest tight as fear clawed at her throat, then, a desperate thought flickered. What about Emily? She gasped, dread pooling in her stomach. I should be gone back for her. Jake's voice cracked under the weight of guilt. We didn't know. Lisa hissed, anger flaring momentarily. We need to focus. We can't let it find us. Outside, the growl transformed into a series of snorts, the creature clearly frustrated. Then, another sound, a muffled cry echoed from the main cavern. Emily! Jake screamed. Shut up! Lisa hissed, fear washing over her. It might hear him, might think they both were easy prey. Yet, they were helpless. The shadows shifted again, darker, swirling. The growling transformed, twisting into something almost human, a voice calling, let me out, let me out. Lisa's heart sank. What is that? Something surged in the darkness, and for a brief moment, it wasn't just the creature's growl they heard. Somewhere beneath the terror, they could almost hear the unmistakable sound of dread merging into a sinister chant. Jake, what have we released? They trembled, knowing there was no choice left. To save Emily we must confront it. But the shadows whispered back. What if confronting it meant losing everything? The darkness pressed in around them, so thick it felt like a living thing. Jake's heart drummed hard against his ribcage, its frantic rhythm nearly drowned out by the echoing growl that still reverberated off the walls. Lisa could feel his own rising panic, a shared terror that enveloped them like a heavy shroud. Is it still out there? Lisa breathed, straining to listen, her throat tight with tension. The sound of claws scraping the ground haunted the air, sending shivers down her spine. Maybe Jake bit his lip, furrowing his brow in thought. We can't stay here for too long. It's only a matter of time before it finds us. His voice quivered, but determination edged through. Their surroundings felt alive, shadows dancing just beyond the feeble beam of light from Emily's dim flashlight. Lisa's stomach twisted. What do you think that voice was? It sounded human. I don't know, Jake replied, his breath hitching. But it can't be good. They exchanged a worried glance, their unspoken fears bubbling to the surface. The truth was, they were trapped in a nightmare of their own making. Had they unleashed something far worse than they had ever imagined? The growls again morphed, echoing a rapid stream of whispers. Help me, don't leave me, no. Lisa hissed, the words spilling from her lips like a defense. We have to block it out. Focus, Jake. We need to think. Think? Panic surged in his voice. How do we think in a place like this? It, whatever it is, wants us. From the darkness, something lurched, a heavy breath pulling in close to the passage, hot and rancid. They flinched as the creature shifted, claws scraping against stone once more. The voice lured just beyond their reach, hitching, pleading. The words dripped with desperation. Stay back. Jake shouted, instinctively raising the chair leg as if it could shield them from the unseen horror. The whispers intensified, scratching at the edges of Lisa's mind. Just let me out. You can save me. The sound twisted in a cacophony, weaving through their thoughts, planting seeds of doubt. Who are you? Lisa whimpered, her voice small in the dark. An icy wind swept through the narrow passage, chilling her to the bone and pulling more frantic breaths from them both. Suddenly, the light from the flashlight flickered and dimmed even further, leaving them in a dizzying darkness that pressed in tighter, a agonizing reminder of their captivity. "We have to move. Now," Jake urged, his instincts ignited. "If that's Emily, we can't abandon her." But the terror rooted Lisa to the spot. "Jake, we don't know what's waiting out there." She clutched his arm, the fear of choices weighing heavy upon her. They were caught in a terrible crossroads of instinct and morality. Before either could decide, the creature growled again, fierce and unrelenting. The very air throbbed with tension. The walls seemed to vibrate as if the cave itself sensed their fear. Then, with a sudden crash that reverberated in their bones, the entrance they had sneaked through collapsed, a wall of dirt and rock that sealed their fate. "We're trapped," Jake muttered, realization settling in like a lead weight. Lisa's mind raced. "No, there's got to be another way out somewhere," but even as she spoke, doubt tainted her voice, spiraling into a black hole of despair. Outside, the chorus of pleas grew louder, almost deafening. "Let me out. You can't leave me in here. I will be your savior." Lisa latched onto Jake's arm, fear clawing at her throat. "We have to confront it," she murmured. "It's the only chance, but what if it takes everything from us?" The shadows deepened as the creature shifted, a low growl rising once more. In this suffocating darkness, it loomed waiting, hungry, but in the depths of her despair, a flicker of thought glimmered. What if? What if what? Jake's eyes raked across the darkness, searching for answers they both feared. What if saving Emily means we have to? Lisa's sentence was cut off as a chilling silence overtook them, suffocating yet again, poised on the edge of discovery. But what were they really willing to sacrifice in order to uncover the truth? The ground trembled beneath them as a low rumble flowed through the cave, shaking loose dust and small rocks from the ceiling. Lisa and Jake stood frozen, the air crackling with tension, each breath sending a wave of dread pooling in their insides. Jake's grip on the chair leg tightened as if it could somehow hold back the encroaching darkness. What if saving Emily means we have to? Lisa's words came out fragmented, drowned in the silence that followed. Fear surged in her veins, twisting around her heart like a vice. The shadows morphed behind them. A sudden, chilling gust of wind rushed through the passage, sending a cold shiver right down Lisa's spine. "It's getting closer," she hissed, her voice barely a whisper. "I don't care," Jake shouted, voice cracking under the weight of his fear. "We can't think about that now. We have to find a way through." His eyes darted around, clawing at the dark, desperate for a hint, a spark of light. From the depths of the abyss came that haunting voice again, weaving through their thoughts like a serpent. "Help me, don't leave me," the plea echoed painfully, clawing at their common bond. A flicker of recognition glimmered in Lisa's eyes, a thought swirling in the murky depths of her mind. "Jake, what if it's all a trap?" She shivered at the realization. "What if it's been waiting for us to break?" "Stop it," he snapped. "If that's Emily, we can't just leave her. We can't give in to this thing." But there was an uncertainty in his eyes, fear warring against his protective instinct. The growl deepened, blending with the ghastly whisper, and the tension rose like a perfect storm, threatening to explode. Maybe we can try calling out to her," Lisa ventured, her voice trembling. A surge of courage pushed its way through her, wanting to break free from the icy grip of fear. "Emily? Can you hear us?" Silence. Then the growl subsided, a heartbeat, replaced by heavy breathing echoing against the stone walls. "Lisa, we don't even know if that's really Emily," Jake whispered harshly, clenching the chair leg like a lifeline. "But what if it is? What if we're about to leave her behind?" The urge to reach out, to connect, pulled more powerfully than the fear that threatened to swallow them. "Emily!" Jake called, and with it, a trembling hope ignited. A distant sound, like rocks shifting. A flicker from the shadows. "Jake?" Lisa?" The voice was weak yet familiar, tapping into their spiraling dread. "Hang on!" Jake shouted, panic fueling his next words. "We're coming!" Cries compounded until they mingled with an unsettling echo of growls, like some grotesque harmony plaguing the air. They flinched but pressed on, deeper into the murky unknown. "There has to be something," Jake insisted, scanning the walls in desperate circles. The growls returned, harsh and guttural. In the suffocating dark, something moved, like a specter shifting, its breath heavy and foul, as if eagerness coiled in the air. "Run!" Lisa screamed, ripping Jake from the haunting cadence that bound them. They stumbled forward as the growls transformed into angry roars, rage emanating from the shadows. Dread built like thunder in the air as they navigated the labyrinthine caves, hearts pounding a furious rhythm. "Which way?" Lisa cried out, panic coursing through her veins, squeezing tight. "Over here!" Jake shouted, pointing to a narrow opening that promised escape, but as they dashed toward it, a flash of movement blocked their path. "What's that?" Lisa gasped, wrenching the chair leg into a defensive position, her breath coming in agonized gasps. The thing that lurked in the shadows shifted, revealing a hulking silhouette, eyes glowing like embers in the dark. And then it lunged, instinct kicked in, and all they could do was run, but where to? Trapped between escape and annihilation, the darkness spiraled tightly around them. Only the future held answers. Would they confront the monster, or would they lose everything in the shadows? What lay ahead might just reveal worse fears than they had ever imagined. The thing lunged with a speed that defied belief, dark claws slicing through the air just inches from Lisa's shoulder. Adrenaline flooded her system as she ducked and pushed herself forward, urgency coursing through her veins. Jake was right behind her, pushing through the narrow opening without even looking back. They stumbled into a small chamber, the sound of their ragged breathing drowning out the growling behind them. The walls were slick with moisture, and the air was thick, suffocating. The ground shifted beneath their feet, an unsettling reminder of the instability around them. "Is it gone?" Jake panted, eyes wide with raw panic. He looked toward the entrance, waiting for the monster to appear. "I don't think so," Lisa breathed, clenching the chair leg tighter. The shadows seemed to dance on the edges of her vision, flickers that shimmered just beyond the reach of her rational mind. "We have to keep moving," he whispered, glancing back toward the cave's throat, as if expecting the beast to slither through at any moment. There was a brief moment of heavy silence, broken only by the distant echoes of their racing hearts. "Wait," Lisa stopped suddenly, tilting her ear toward the back of the chamber. "Do you hear that?" A low, rhythmic thudding reverberated through the cave, like a heartbeat drumming against the walls. The sound surged, filling the air with an ominous energy. Their breath caught in their throats. "What if it's Emily?" Jake spun around, hope shining briefly before doubt clouded his eyes. "What if she's in trouble? Or what if it's whatever that thing is?" Lisa countered, a knot forming in her stomach. "We can't take that chance." But before she could finish her thought, the thudding intensified. Jake started, but the word fell into the void as a flicker of movement drew their eyes. Somewhere within the shadows, narrow and jagged, lay another passage. It beckoned, but its darkness felt alive, pulsating with an energy that pulled at them. "Do we follow?" Lisa's voice trembled, and she stepped backward instinctively. "We have to," Jake replied grimly. "What other choice do we have?" Gritting her teeth, she nodded. Steeling themselves, they crept toward the narrow passageway, the thudding growing louder. With each step, the pit of dread in Lisa's stomach deepened. The passage opened wider and curved, leading them deeper into the cave. As they entered, the ground sloped downward sharply. They grasped hands, each trying to buoy the other's dwindling courage amidst the chaos. The air thickened around them, smelling of damp earth and something metallic. The rhythmic thud transformed into an unsettling chant, a ghostly echo of voices intertwining. "Help me, don't leave me," the words came alive, twisting around them like a noose, pulling them toward a chilling fate. "Emily!" Jake called again, desperation tangling his words. They moved faster now, urgency mixed with terror burning in every step. Suddenly, a blinding light pierced the cave, and they shielded their eyes, hearts racing. "Look!" Lisa shouted, pointing ahead. The glow illuminated ragged outlines, silhouettes of 4 figures, drifting ominously in the light, resembling lost souls trapped in a haze of despair. Emily, the name fell from Jake's lips like a prayer, hope igniting momentarily. But then Lisa noticed the twisted, empty eyes that stared back at them. This wasn't Emily. It was something far worse. "Jake! Get back!" She screamed as the figures advanced, their shadows elongating and merging. Panic surged as they turned, only to find the path closing. The walls seemed to shift, swallowing their escape. They were cornered, surrounded by an illusion that was both terrifying and grotesquely beautiful. "Now what?" Jake gasped, hopelessness etched across his face. The growls returned, deeper than before. They were trapped between their fears and twisted realities, and what lay ahead became darker than night itself. Would they confront the nightmares ahead, or would they be consumed by the shadows lurking in their minds? The answers lurked just beyond the darkness. Would the truth set them free, or drape them in eternal despair? The figures drew closer, their hollow gazes locking onto Lisa and Jake with an otherworldly pull. The light intensified, refracting off their skin, casting shadows that twisted and turned, morphing into jagged shapes on the walls. "Jake! We can't stay," Lisa begged. The weight of dread pressed down on her like a suffocating blanket. She clenched the chair leg so tightly that her knuckles turned white, but Jake didn't move. His eyes were fixated on the advancing silhouettes. "No, it can't be," Emily hope bled into desperation, shattering his resolve. "It has to be her." "No, no!" Lisa shouted, the panic rising in her chest. "Look closer. That isn't her, those eyes, they're empty." With a forceful tug, she pulled Jake back, dragging him towards the narrowing escape route. The growls escalated again, reverberating through their bones, shaking the very ground beneath them. They stumbled, slipping on the damp earth as the chilling sound clawed at their sanity. "Run!" she cried, her voice a sharp whip that snapped through the suffocating air. They bolted, adrenaline surging as they barreled back into the passage. The sound of the creatures swarmed behind them, a chorus of primal growls mixed with anguished cries that chilled Lisa to her core. The slick walls seemed to pulse, shoving against them, tightening their path as if the cave itself sought to swallow them whole. Lisa could sense the darkness stretching out, clawing at them with icy fingers. Fear coiled around her throat, making it hard to breathe. "Lisa! What's happening?" Jake's voice cracked, panic seeping through the cracks of his bravado. "I don't know." Lisa shot back. "Just keep moving." They pressed on, hearts pounding like war drums. The unnatural light flickered and dimmed, casting them into brief moments of tormenting blackness. Shapes morphed along the walls, haunting reminders of what they might become if they didn't escape. Then, abruptly, the tunnel opened, and they fell into a wider space, a grand chamber filled with an unsettling glow. It was eerily beautiful and grotesquely menacing, like a painter's fever dream. Bioluminescent fungi clung to the walls, their colorful light almost magnetic, yet there was something ominous behind their allure. "Emily?" Jake shouted again, the name rising in pitch, echoing against the moss-covered walls. From another part of the chamber, a figure emerged. Not Emily, but a tall, gaunt silhouette with elongated limbs that flickered like candlelight. The air turned sour, the temperature dropping as the creature's unfurling form soaked in their fright. "Leave me alone," a disembodied voice slithered from its lips, barely recognizable but hauntingly familiar. "Run! Now!" Lisa yelled, and they pivoted away from the unearthly apparition, scrambling deeper into the chamber, both of them breathless and trembling. They could feel the pull of the darkness again, tugging at their heels as whispers morphed into distant screams. Dark matter twisted around them, a tangible force trying to drag them into the abyss. "We can't let it take us," Jake gasped, his resolve wavering. "It wants our fears. Remember the shadows." Lisa shouted back, gritting her teeth. "We have to believe they're not real." But the whispers deepened, saturating every inch of the claustrophobic space, numbing their minds. It was a heavy weight that pressed down on them, telling them to submit, to surrender. With a jolt, Lisa remembered something her grandmother always said: "You have the power to face your fears." The words echoed in her mind, lighting a flame of defiance. "Stay with me, Jake," she commanded, feeling that flicker of hope. "We're not alone. We can fight this." But just as they began to muster their courage, the chamber began to tremble violently. The walls cracked, and a deafening roar erupted from the darkness behind them. They turned, hearts pounding against their ribs, to see the shadows birthing something colossal, something that surged forward, darkening the entire chamber. Faced with this new horror, would they rise to meet it, or would they yield to an unimaginable fate? The echo of their choices lingered in the air like a ghost, waiting to consume them. The colossal shadow writhed and expanded, swallowing the dim light of the chamber. Lisa couldn't breathe, her chest tightening as the unimaginable darkness swelled, shaped like a nightmare come to life. Beside her, Jake froze, his eyes wide with terror, reflecting the ever-encroaching void. "Jake!" Lisa shouted, panic edging into her voice. "We need to move now." He fumbled, his limbs like lead, caught between instinct and fear. Just as the shadow surged closer, its multiple eyes flickering like dying stars, he finally tore himself from the shock and bolted. Lisa latched onto his wrist, and together they sprinted deeper into the chamber, their footsteps echoing against the slick ground. "Where do we go?" Jake gasped, desperation punctuating each word. The remnants of hope flickered in his eyes, overshadowed by fear. "Anywhere but here," Lisa yelled, her heart racing as they surged toward a narrowing crevice in the rock wall, pulsing with the same eerie glow as the fungi. It felt like a heartbeat, beckoning them to escape. Behind them, the howls grew louder, a cacophony of shrieks blending with the echoes of their urgency. Lisa focused on the crevice ahead, a small opening, barely big enough to squeeze through. "Go!" she urged, shoving Jake forward. He scrambled into the narrow passage, and as Lisa followed, she felt the cold breath of the shadow grazing the back of her neck. It was so close, so hungry. The passage twisted, dark and suffocating. Lisa pressed against the rough stone, clenching her eyes shut as the primal instinct to survive kicked in. Each breath felt heavy, strained, as the darkness lingered behind, ready to ensnare them. "Lisa!" Jake's voice was frantic, cutting through the thick silence. "This way." She opened her eyes, a spark of determination igniting within her. "What do you see?" "A light," he called, his voice a blend of relief and fear. "Let us run for it." They stumbled forward, the glow growing brighter as they raced toward safety. But as they neared, the passage widened, revealing another chamber, luminous and serene. Ethereal light washed over them, illuminating the once menacing shadows lurking within. However, the peace was deceptive. Glancing around, fear nestled in her chest anew. Figures stood frozen in place, lost souls trapped in agony, their eyes pleading for release. Were they remnants of the darkness? Lisa's heart sank. "Jake, this isn't right," she whispered, but her voice was swallowed by the ominous tranquility surrounding them. Above the figures, the bioluminescent fungi pulsed rhythmically, as if feeding off the trapped despair. Lisa felt the ground shift beneath her feet, the walls exhaling a chilling sigh. It was a deceptive sanctuary, one that wanted to consume them too. Suddenly, one of the figures turned its head, revealing Emily's face twisted in anguish, lips barely moving. "Help me," she gasped. Her eyes held the same empty stare they had seen before, a reflection of the terrifying truth. You can't leave. A surge of anger and grief flooded Lisa's veins. No. Emily! She screamed, stepping closer, desperate to reach out to her friend. Jake grabbed her arm, pulling her back. We can't trust this place. It's trying to trap you. But Emily's voice lashed out, sharper than before. You must stay, be part of us. The chamber quaked, shadows flickering, as the whispers returned, urging them to succumb. Lisa's heart raced. Don't listen. Jake shouted, pulling her toward the chamber's exit. We can't stay here. With every ounce of strength, Lisa tore her gaze away from Emily, her heart shattering as they raced for the exit, but the shadows surged again, coiling around her legs, threatening to pull her back. Fight it, Lisa. Jake's voice broke through, a lifeline in the destructive torrent. We can't let them take us. She wrestled against the growing darkness, recalling the flame of defiance that had sparked inside her. We have to believe. She screamed, pulling with everything she had until she broke free from the shadow's grasp. As they plunged through the exit into an unseen corridor, the dreadful whispers fell silent. The weight of their journey pressed heavily against them, but the sound of a low rumble reverberated in the depths, echoing louder, deeper, like a promise that the darkness would not let them go easily. What awaited them in the next corridor? Would their escape lead to salvation or simply greater nightmares? The fear of the unknown clawed at them, urging them onward into an uncertain fate. Lisa and Jake stumbled into yet another narrow corridor, but this one felt different. The walls were slick, pulsating rhythmically, like a heartbeat just beneath their touch. The air crackled with energy, but not the dark kind. They could almost taste a hint of freedom, a glimmer of hope battling against the shadows that pursued them. Do you think it's following us? Jake whispered, glancing over his shoulder, heart racing, every instinct screaming that danger was never too far behind. I don't know, Lisa gasped, both fear and determination swirling inside her. But we have to keep going. We're so close. The corridor twisted and turned, the glow from the bioluminescent fungi leading the way. Each flicker of light felt like a siren call, a promise of life, the kind they had almost forgotten in the suffocating darkness behind them. Suddenly, a scraping noise echoed through the corridor, pulling them back from their fragile hope. Shadows surged like a tidal wave, clawing at the entrance. The growling was now a cacophony, fierce and enraged, echoing off the walls. Lisa! It's coming! Jake shouted, panic bubbling in his voice. They broke into a sprint, heartbeats pounding louder than any growl. With sheer desperation, Lisa forced herself to trust in the path ahead. The way opened into another space, wider, more brightly lit, a sanctuary offering warmth and life. It was an odd contrast to the horrors they had witnessed, and for a moment, they hesitated. Should we go in? Jake asked, the uncertainty weighing heavily in his features. Let us just see what's in there, Lisa replied, eyes narrowing on the exit beckoning from across the chamber. As they stepped forward, they found themselves in a room filled with ethereal light and more of those luminescent fungi lining the walls. But something felt off. The atmosphere was thick with tension, like the calm before a storm. What in the world is this place? Jake whispered, stepping cautiously. Lisa's feet moved instinctively toward the center, where an altar seemed to rise from the ground, adorned with stones glowing faintly. The air hummed with ancient energy. I think this might be the source, she breathed, glancing around frantically. We might be able to, I don't know, confront whatever we awakened? The shadows behind them merged into the entrance, moving faster now, agitated. We have no choice. We have to try. Jake urged, determination cloaked in desperation. Emily! Lisa shouted. The word bounced off the walls. If you're still in there, we can help you. Her voice echoed, trembled. A silence blanketed the chamber. For a heartbeat, she thought it had worked, a spark of recognition. Then she heard it, an ethereal whisper weaving through the shadows, help me, don't leave, no. We will not be lured. Jake shouted defiantly, his voice cracking in the pressure of raw fear. Fight it. With a sudden burst of clarity, Lisa felt the power of their combined strength. We've come too far to turn back. We need to take a stand. She stepped closer, eyes wide with conviction. The shadows hissed, swirling, coiling around them, tight and suffocating. This place desires to claim you, came the voice, bitter and hollow. Join us, become one. But Lisa remembered the warmth of sunlight, laughter shared with friends, her unwavering hope despite the chaos swirling around them. No. We are not forsaken. We hold the light. She gripped Jake's arm tighter, feeling his resolve match hers. The shadows contorted as the power within them grew. Around the altar, shadows rippled, then surged toward them, a voice of anguish rising, "You cannot resist." Yet, the glow intensified, illuminating their sanctuary, filling the chamber with a blinding light that pulsed like a heartbeat. Each thrum echoed a promise of freedom, sparking courage deep within them. Together. Jake shouted, pulling Lisa closer. They raised their hands, amplifying their bond, calling to the distant flickers of hope. We are here. We will not be claimed. We are alive. In that moment, a radiant wave surged from them like a shockwave, colliding with the encroaching darkness. The shadows recoiled, letting out fearsome howls, tremors rippling through the air. Feel the light. Lisa shouted, amplifying it with every ounce of her being. This is our moment. The shadows writhed, screaming in protest, but the light broke through, penetrating their darkness. The figures twisted in agony, the voices merging into a torrent of anguish. You cannot banish us. We are its children. We have claimed many. Not today. Jake shouted back, confidence swelling in the space between them, pushing against the tendrils of darkness that sought to consume them. We discover our own fate. Their joined voices rang through the chamber like a bell, shattering the sinister hold. Just when it seemed the shadows were winning, the room exploded with brilliance. The darkness burst like a bubble under fiery sun, disintegrating into particles of light. The cries faded into a gentle whisper, a last echo as the shadows dissolved, freeing the souls it had claimed. As the glow subsided, Lisa fell to her knees, breathless but alive. Jake stood beside her, eyes wide, searching the chamber around them. Is it over? He breathed, hope flickering in his voice. They looked up, the light still illuminating their haven as it transformed, becoming a pathway leading out, an exit from the cave forever. I think so, Lisa whispered, her pulse calming, warmth enveloping her spirit. They had faced the darkness and come back into the light, defying what had tried to consume them. Emily's voice drifted back in the silence, softer now. Thank you for not leaving. Tears of relief filled Lisa's eyes as they stood together, united in their victory. Let us go home, she said, feeling the heartbeat of hope resonating beneath their feet, guiding them toward the exit. As they stepped into the light, leaving behind the shadows, they knew the true strength that resides not just in surviving darkness, but in choosing to embrace the light together. And so, armed with courage, friendship, and resilience, they moved forward into the dawn of a new day, knowing that not even the deepest shadows could conquer the light of their hearts. Thank you for joining us on this wild ride. If you enjoyed this chilling conclusion, you need to subscribe now, so you don't miss our next exclusive stories that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and help us reach other thrill seekers like you. Don't wait even one more second to share this video. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this ending. And if you know friends who need to see this conclusion, share it with at least 5 friends. Your support means everything to us.